What up, y'all? It's your guy Dawson from D&D TV. Thank you for rating, commenting, and subscribing. Everybody who's donated, those of you all who will, you know I appreciate it. All that information is in the description box below. Also, make sure you go over to my other YouTube channel, Dawson Speaks TV. Make sure you subscribe over there. And when you subscribe, hit that little bell next to the subscribe button so you get notifications when I drop a new video. Now let's get into this topic. All right, y'all. Now, this case comes out of my state. Yes, my state, Florida. But if I go around every state in the United States, I'm sure I can find similar stories of how these people keep doing horrible things to the children. You know, back in the day when I was a kid, I remember my grandma and my mom and a lot of people, the older women in church and men, they used to say, watch out for the little girls, hold your sister hand, hold your cousin hand. She's a girl. You got to look out for her. They're after the little girls. But what they fail to understand is that there are people who in the world, they're after the little boys too. And that's this particular case that I'm going to talk about, where the football coach, let the boys play football because, they play football. They're going to be real men. Yeah, right. This happened in 2017 when a former custodian / football coach was convicted of molesting a teen boy in Coral Springs Middle School. Take a breath. Robert Grant, 29 years old. They found him guilty of 10 of the 11 charges, including lewd and lascivious molestation and sexual battery. Now, Robert Grant said he didn't do it and that the 15-year-old was lying. However, during the court case, more boys came forward with similar stories that Robert Grant did the same thing to them. Now, I'm going to let you all watch this video, and I will be back with the rest of my commentary. And you all know me. I'm Dawson. I won't hold back.
4:30 trial is underway right now for a former school janitor accused of molesting several students.
The suspect worked at Coral Springs Middle School.
It's day one in the trial of Robert Grant, the 29-year-old who used to be a school custodian and sports coach at Coral Springs Middle School, is accused of molesting several students there. One of the victims, who's still a minor, a junior in high school now, was first to testify, making damning allegations about an incident at a parking lot.
He reaches over with his two hands and reaches inside my pants through the waistband and he'll touch my testicles for a couple seconds.
Grant was arrested back in October of 2017. In another instance, school surveillance video showed Grant was on campus for several hours with a then 15-year-old victim who took the stand today and told police Grant performed oral sex on him while they were stretching. The victim is said to have frozen in fear. In opening statements, the state argued Grant abused his position of power and is responsible for these crimes.
This was no accident. This was not the first time Robert Grant was at that school on a weekend with one boy.
But the defense says the case is based solely on allegations and no evidence, and questions the credibility of the victim.
I think you're going to find that the victim in this case is a troubled young man. That he had some issues, maybe in terms of that, believe it or not, that Robert was spending too much time training with the other kids, and that he wasn't maybe getting the attention that he thought that he should have gotten from Robert.
Right now, a jury finding a former middle school coach and janitor guilty of molesting a student, and that's not all.
The defendant is guilty of sexual battery, familial custodial authority as charged in the information.
Robert Grant showed no emotion as the verdict was read. The jury finding the 29-year-old former coach and custodian guilty on 4 counts of sexual battery and 6 counts of lewd and lascivious molestation for sexually assaulting a student at Coral Springs Middle School where he worked.
The jury verdict was a little bit of a shock to us. He loved those kids. He loved to try to help them with their schoolwork and athletics, and he just can't believe that he's here.
The victim's family in the courtroom and too emotional to speak after the verdict was read.
They're doing good. They're very grateful. It's a relief for them.
They're emotional.
Tears of joy.
During the trial, the victim took the stand accusing Grant of inappropriately touching him and performing oral sex on him. 4 other victims testified with similar stories, but the defense always maintained there was never any physical evidence or witnesses to back up the allegations. The jury disagreed.
Now, he's a young man, and he continues to maintain his innocence, and we will fight this until we have no fight left.
And we begin at 4:30 with the punishment for a former school janitor and coach who was convicted of repeatedly sexually assaulting a student.
In fact, you may remember other students took the stand as well last month, also accusing him of molesting them. Local 10's Syra Onwer is live. She's in Coral Springs with more on the sentence today. Syra.
So Robert Grant was a janitor and an athletic coach here at Coral Springs Middle School when he molested these young boys. He was convicted in late October and sentenced this morning.
For life, I have this permanent scar that can't be erased. No pill that could erase my memory will take this.
Two of 29-year-old Robert Grant's teenage victims making emotional statements at his sentencing in Broward County Court.
I'll never let anybody else close in my life like that again. It's scary.
A judge sentencing Grant to 75 years in prison after he was found guilty of 4 counts of sexual battery and 6 counts of lewd and lascivious molestation. The former Coral Springs Middle School janitor and flag football coach was convicted after sexually molesting a then 15-year-old victim at least 10 times. 4 other teen boys testified against Grant. One victim's mother speaking out about the damage Grant did to her son and her family.
I beat myself up every day for your actions. I'm apologizing for something I didn't do, but yet you never apologize. Guess what, Robert? This was a promise to my son. He will be the last person you ever touch.
And Grant did not apologize to any of the victims at this morning's sentencing. He maintains that he is innocent. His attorney tells me he's already begun the appeals process. Again, he was sentenced to 75 years in jail, so he could be in prison until he's 105 years old. We're live in Coral Springs tonight. Syra Onwer, Local 10 News.
All right, y'all, let's go in. Now, I hope that in this particular case that the victims are getting the help they need far as therapy, far as, talking to the right people. And what you all did not see in, you saw it close to the end, but maybe you didn't hear because there's more video on this particular case as well because it was broadcast everywhere down here in South Florida, is that the young men talked about how they would never trust anyone, how they felt their innocence was stolen from them, how they've been scarred for life because of this particular incident. And I know we do a lot of stuff for the young girls and we have these mentoring, all this stuff, but we have to look out for the young boys. I was talking with one of my colleagues and I said, you see how I was like, a lot of this stuff we see, especially down in our area with the violence and all this stuff, not being able to communicate, just wanting to shoot and all this kind of stuff. A lot of these kids are hiding things that happened to them as children. A lot of these adults, rather. Now they're grown men and grown women, but they were traumatized as children. And many times, that's why I tell a lot of you religious people, you try to, you're going to hell, you're going to hell. You can't scare people with that when they've been traumatized as children. When they have gone through hellish situations here on earth. There are people, young people who have been through so much tragedy in their life that they are, by the time they're 15 and 16, it's almost like they're 45 or 50 because of what they've gone through and what they've seen. And when I saw these boys, these 5 boys, just like those victims with Eddie Long that y'all didn't believe, they older, they should have done it. Y'all get out of here with that nonsense. When I saw these young boys come forward, because it's hard for boys to come forward when things like this happen, because especially in middle school, you let them, y'all did this, or you're this way, you that way. We don't like to talk about that when it comes to young boys. And there are so many men, grown men, who this has happened to. I remember, I'll probably pull the picture out of that football player when he was on Oprah one day, and he was talking about how his mother's boyfriend just victimized him and touched him inappropriately, and he was crying and all this stuff, and he didn't want to say it, and Oprah just broke through and said, basically, you were raped. How hard it is for people, even him being a grown man, to face the truth of that. What are we doing to our children that we're so fascinated with celebrities and all this other kind of stuff and everything else. And mom and daddy out here trying to do all this other stuff, trying to make that money and stuff, but you don't take care of your kids. You're not looking out for your kids. Now, I heard the mother's plea and what she said she was feeling towards the end, and she blamed, she's apologizing for something that she didn't do. And I understand that. Being a social worker, we have sat with clients like that, tried to bring families back together. But once something like this happens, the damage is already done. You've got to just build from wherever you can and try to, whatever relationship you can salvage with your child, with whoever who was victimized, you just got to go from there, because you can't undo what was done. And it is sad, because one of those boys on the witness stand said that you have ruined my trust in people. I will never let nobody get that close to me again. For a young, he's there in high school now, for a high school kid to say that. These teenage girls and boys are going through so much. And then when we look on the news and we wondering why these adults, why they acting like this? Why they doing this? Oh, they have no care in the world. They don't care about dying. We don't know what people have gone through in their childhood. We don't know what people have gone through, that they can go rob people and do all this kind of stuff to people and have no care, callous, have no heart. That stuff is going on now. We see it every day. And people, some of y'all finna get blocked off my page. That's what's finna start happening in 2020, because I don't understand. If you don't like what I do, why do you come over to my show? I'm still getting letters, and I'm not even a YouTuber who does stuff weekly. I come out when I feel like it and say what I need to say. But we will continue to stand up for the victims. I will continue to do it with my platform. I don't care who it is. I can't be bought. No one's slipping me anything and say, talk about this, talk about that. No, we don't play that over here, because I got to deal with my creator. Now, I ain't worried about no YouTube stuff. That you all got me to 100,000, and when you all feel like you don't want me there, you can pull your subscriptions back. That's why I don't look at the numbers. I look at my purpose. Look at your purpose. The purpose will fuel you. You're looking at the wrong thing. We're standing up for the victims over here, y'all. Now, when I heard about this particular case, I was just completely upset, and I'm glad that it has come to an end. But it reminded me of the situation with Jerry Sandusky. You all remember Jerry Sandusky. He was the assistant coach out at Penn State, and he was also convicted of rape and child abuse for those kids that were part of their organization, that they were a part of group homes and stuff like that. A sports coach. Oh, it happens everywhere. We gotta look out for the kids, y'all. We got to. Seriously, we have to. Now, I'm going to get off this topic, because just doing this whole thing got me upset. Seeing those boys come forward and knowing how people will say, oh, y'all boys, how could y'all let this happen? And the same way they do with the victims of Eddie Long. Some of y'all love the pastors and stuff so much that y'all would sacrifice y'all kids. You all you're evil. You're evil. You're evil. You're evil. That's all to it. Jumping and shouting in the church, knowing the children getting molested. Knowing your favorite traveling evangelist done did stuff. Preach against one thing and get up there and he's doing this. Come on, man. Come on, y'all. Y'all got to be real. You can't fool us no more. Now, before I leave, I'm getting upset because I really want to say some more things. But let me say this. A young lady sent me a comment, and she said, on a video I did, and it got me, because I read it, and it just, when y'all send me these comments, it keeps me doing what I'm doing. And this lady said, my mother allowed her boyfriend to molest me when I was 11 years old, when she would leave me in the house with him and take my brother to the YMCA. He ruined me. Absolutely no one would help me. No one believed me until he was convicted. She went on to say, I confronted my mother about it years ago, and she told me straight to my face, I deserved it. Did y'all hear that? Her mother told her straight to her face that she deserved it. And this lady went on to say, This is something that has traumatized me for the rest of my life. And I promised my spirit died at 11 years old. That's why Dawson up here doing what he's doing. I'm not up here clout chasing. I come out and do videos when I feel like it, whenever the spirit moves me, whenever I got something to say. Because we need people who really gonna stand up for victims for real. Not, I'm about to go there. Look, y'all, I'm out of here. Take care of yourself. Happy New Year's. We got a lot more work to do. And that's all I'm going to say on this. I hope the victims are getting the help they need. And for you parents out there, you guardians, you uncles and aunts and grandparents who have custody or guardianship over the kids, look out for the kids. Have a relationship with them. Talk to them so they can tell you stuff. It's your guy, Dawson. Take care of yourself and each other. Peace.